Joan Jett on Dubai Eye 103.8. Wonderful to have you with us. It's 24 minutes past 1 and we're delving into dad life. If I said mindfulness, what do you think of? I think for many, it's kind of lost a bit of meaning, or it sounds a bit abstract, even off-putting, especially for men. But Dom Watts says it is actually one of the most practical tools a father can have. He's a Dubai-based wellness coach at Free Spirit Collective. He supports clients dealing with stress, burnout, relationship struggles, and he's got a new book, Diary of a Mindful Dad Uncensored, this raw, real-time account of becoming a parent, and argues that mindfulness is not about escaping the chaos, but I guess, Dom, kind of learning to stay present within it. Let's come back to this perception that mindfulness is, and it's not my words, a bit soft, not for men. Where do you think those misconceptions come from?
I guess it's easy to put anything which is quote unquote spiritual into that box. I think it's a lot of the narrative, the general narrative that goes around amongst people helps to build that viewpoint up. But I think if you say something like being present is important, it sounds trite. It just sounds, what does that even mean? So let's just break it down quickly. So are we present now? Well, we are physically here. And right now, we both are very likely to be present with all of our attention in our mind as well, because we're literally talking on the radio, right? But what does it mean when it's difficult to be present? That's when presence really matters. When life is trying to encourage you to escape in your mind or physically escape. And being present means not just having a lovely time, it means having the bravery to face whatever's coming up, which is preventing you from being present. And obviously that's hugely relevant to parenting, because being a present parent, not only physically, but with everything you've got, is what creates a great parental relationship.
But what's so hard, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, is if I come home from a hectic day, and I'm lucky enough to enjoy my job, but a lot of people don't, and then you might have an hour on the road, and you're frazzled, and you come through the door, and you might have kids who are just barreling at you, or they're fighting, and there's noise. I think for many people, they're overstimulated, it feels too much, and you want to push away that experience. I think that's probably the reality for most people, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about meditation, and believe me, I have had so many conversations with so many different experts about everyone should meditate. I just go, well, that's just another thing on my to-do list. That feels like a chore, and I don't know how it can help me, because I sit down to meditate and I get Dua Lipa's song, "You meditating?" It's like I get levitating in my head, and I'm like, Helen, you're not doing it right. This is not it. And the only way I can do it sometimes, and I have these little mini breakthroughs, is through like a guided meditation or some kind of noise, because I start to get into to-do lists, and I should be, or did I, or I must. So when someone like me says meditation just doesn't work, how do you typically respond, Dom?
I think that it's very difficult in the beginning to push past those immediate obstacles, especially if we have the misconception that the mind is supposed to be clear or empty, which is only like a half misconception, because of course one of the reasons everyone talks about meditation in such a positive way is because it can produce that sort of a state of consciousness, which is very peaceful. But in the beginning, there's a huge amount of battling with the mind that goes on, and it's kind of inevitable. But I think it needs to be spoken about more, that is a stage, and there is another stage after that where actually the mind learns to find peace. It actually learns to find peace. And yeah, just like learning to exercise and make that a habit in your life, it's difficult in the beginning, but once you can habituate it, it is such a blessing. But when you have kids, like you said, I just want to go back to what you said before about the chaos and the carnage. And I'm very positive and enthusiastic by nature. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be framing parenting as, oh yeah, look, it's all so wonderful, because obviously there's so many really difficult challenges and difficult days and difficult moments like that. But again, to go back to this notion of presence, to be present with that means to truly acknowledge your own pain, to truly acknowledge your own tiredness, your own stress, and something very difficult for me, to truly acknowledge that you might be not relating to your kids in the best way in that moment, not relating to them in the way you want to, and to just sit with that and not escape from that. That's very difficult. And that is a good example of, that's complete opposite of serenity and peace. But it does actually produce harmony, because you're not running away, you're not hiding from what's true. And then you can have those sticky conversations with kids about how hard it is and why you're so tired, and should we be able to have a bit of a rest sometimes. I've had that conversation with my kids a lot this week, just like, Mummy needs to just sit down for 10 minutes. Can we let's do something else and not bother her? And that's really difficult to say, and it's really difficult for children to do, but it's fair enough, isn't it?
And you do often talk about, working through your own emotions before trying to manage your children's, which is exactly what you're talking about there. In the studio, we've got Don Watts, former teacher and now wellbeing coach at Free Spirit Collective. His book, Diary of a Mindful Dad, Uncensored, is what we're discussing this hour. If you want to send me the word dad, I'll send you his details. We are going to come to the text line. I've had a number of messages from dads from how to build connection when you only see them every other weekend. And also anonymous here saying, interesting one, I often catch myself reacting like my own dad did, impatient, angry. How can you break those patterns? We'll come to that after this.
Your ARN News.
Good afternoon, I'm Andrew Hosey.